Hello everyone and welcome back to some more professional StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today are two amazing games of top level Terran versus Zerg from the grand finals of StayAtHome Story Cup. So today I'm trying something new. Rather than casting the entire grand finals, I've selected two of my personal favorites to share with you because honestly this is some of the very best Terran versus Zerg that I've personally ever seen. So first off, spawning right here in the top left hand corner of Curious Minds and playing with the blue SCVs from France, representing Team Liquid, we have none other than Clem. His opponent in the opposite corner, by many considered to be the greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time, with the red Zerg drones, we're looking at Serral's main base. And Serral, of course, plays for ENS. Now here's the thing. Not only have I already seen these games from the grand finals, I've already casted them live as well while they were being played. So I know who ends up winning it. I mean, it's been a little bit since I've casted these as well, so maybe I've once again forgotten some of the details. But if I recall correctly, these two games, the one right here on Curious Minds and then the other one on 2000 Atmos, they were absolutely phenomenal. So it's a little bit different than what I normally do. Normally I cast singular games and sometimes I cast the entire best of 5, best of 7, and oftentimes obviously the best of 3 series as well. But today I'm just casting 2 out of I think like a 2 hour or so, grand finals. Let me know down below in the comment section what you think of it. I mean, I know many of you would not mind sitting back and watching like an hour and a half to 2 hours or so of a best of 7. But personally, at the very least in my current schedule this morning, I have time to cast the 2 best games of the finals, but I don't really have time to cast the entire thing. Anyways, let me know down below what you think of this. So, it's gonna be a Terran versus Zerg between Clem and Serral. Couple of things. First off, Clem has been quite vocal recently that apparently he doesn't feel too good in Terran vs Zerg right now. Which is kind of funny because this year so far, Clem has looked absolutely ridiculous in Terran vs Zerg. Definitely the best TVZ player in the world, although I think Maru is probably a close second there. There's no denying though that Clem's Terran vs Zerg has looked phenomenal. But apparently, at the very least himself, maybe it's mostly a mental thing, he said several times that he doesn't feel too confident in TVZ right now. On the flip side, Serral once again seems to be in form. So there was a time where Serral looked a little bit more shaky, and with a little bit more shaky, I mean him still making grand finals all the time. But at the very least, it didn't really look like the Serral that we saw back in, like, for example, 2018, where he practically ended up winning everything. There's no denying that right now Serral is once again on point, and his Terran vs Zerg is looking phenomenal. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. I don't really know exactly what the current statistics are, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Clem is considered to be the best TVZ player in the world, and Serral the best ZVT player in the world. And that was a cute little dance, actually. Turns out there's a little jump-up pad right over there. I think Clem was probably expecting the Queen to already put down the Creep Tumor, and he could have come around again, but apparently Serral knew of that, and he decided to delay the Creep Tumor for a little while longer, until the point where he knew that this Reaper was gone for at least a little bit. By the way, fun fact about Serral. As you probably know, I've been posting a couple of Age of Empires 4 videos to this YouTube channel. I don't really know exactly what his rank is currently, but a couple of days ago I had a quick look at the Age of Empires 4 leaderboards, and it turns out Serral has been playing. At the time he was like rank 13 in the world, and he hadn't lost a game yet. I don't really know exactly how much he played in the beta of it, but I don't know. Turns out RTS players that play StarCraft at a professional level are good at other RTS games as well. I know, crazy. Anyways, it is quite neat. It is quite cool. Quick triple CC start right here from Clem. He's going to be going into that Banshee follow-up as well. So one thing that Serral had been doing in this particular tournament on this map was go for fast Roach Warrens. So there's 2 games that I remember at the very least where he went up against another Terran player and he decided to go for like a pre-3-minute Roach Warren, where he's basically rushing those roaches towards the other side of the map. So Clem going for the Banshee right here makes a lot of sense. I mean, this is a pretty late Banshee, all things considered, because obviously he's favoring that 3rd command center here before anything else. And even though Serral isn't going for a Roach Warren here, the Roach Warren, yeah, is most of the time countered by that quick Banshee start. Serral is scouting out everything here that the Terran player is going for as well. So far, by the way, Serral looking absolutely flawless here in the early game. Not really losing anything as far as I can tell. Well, he lost 1 Zergling apparently, but not any drones just yet. Very important. Replacing any Creep Tumors that he's lost as well. Making sure that he's zoning away right here against these Hellions. Curious Minds, by the way, it's quickly become one of my personal favorite maps in the current map pool. I think I actually like it the best. Historically speaking, I've never really been a big fan of the smaller maps, but Curious Minds has shown some absolute bangers of games. And, yeah, I'm liking it. So there's only 12 bases here in total on this map. the 6th, the bottom right, and the... Or I guess the bottom left, rather, and the top right. They are quite difficult to acquire. A little bit of sloppy control right here from Clem. Taking a few hits right there on the Banshee before the Banshee cloaking field is done, which is definitely not ideal. He's thinking about driving the Hellions right here up the ramp as well. A little bit dangerous, though. I mean, there are Zerglings available. Beautiful dancing here by Serral. Oh my god, he actually pushes that back. So, a little bit of indecisiveness right there by Clem. Clem probably hoping that the Zerglings would engage and that he could get a couple of free lines of fire off, and then he probably would have committed towards the mineral line. But you can kind of see a little bit of that sloppiness, right? So the second Banshee right now as well. Okay, does take a couple of hits. This one, however, is in range right there of the Spore Crawler detection. And at this point, the early game is going heavily in favor right here of the finisher. Even attacking one of his own creep tumors right there for no apparent reason. But luckily, for him at the very least, he did keep the creep tumor alive. So far, I mean, this is not looking all too hot right here for Clem. The problem is when you don't deal any damage, Zerg is going to get, first off, a lot of drones out, so their eco is going to be booming. And secondly, that creep threat is going to be looking pretty crazy as well. Especially on a map that is pretty small. Serral obviously doesn't need to spread nearly as many creep tumors as you need on other maps, like in absolute numbers. He's going to be able to cover the map in that, that gray, purplish goo pretty quickly. One more recent development in Terran vs. Zerg, while the Terran player is going for a very standard opener, is once again this double Evo start. So Raynor has been talking about this quite a bit at StayAtHome Story Cup, that he's been very fond of going for the double Evo first, before going for the Lair and the Baneling speed. So Baneling speed is going to be quite late, but according to him, as long as your creep spread is good, and as long as your queens don't die, you should be fine without Baneling speed at the absolute earliest moment. The nice thing about going for the double Evos is that you can go for a timing attack with Hydraling Bane right when 2-2 finishes up. So the upgrades are going to be timed a little bit differently. Thought it was neat to notice, or to note rather. So there's a couple of Zerglings now wrapping around that siege tank as well. Serral once again zoning away beautifully here. Gets rid of the creep the creep tank. The siege tank right there. Right next to the creep right here. Close to the watchtower. Couple of misrallied Marines as well, and this is a little bit sloppy. Now, I promise you that these two games that I've selected, they are some of the highest level Terran vs. Zerg, but there's no denying that Clem is looking a little bit flustered right here in the earlier stages of the game. And generally speaking, Serral doesn't really give away advantages like this. Hellions, though, still around. I mean, it's not like he's lost that much stuff either, but it's definitely not going that hot here in the early game. +2/+2 coming up for the Zerg. 4 CC, though, already about halfway done, so Clem definitely not going for an all-in. There's the second factory as well. He's going to go for a reactor there, so looks to me like he's making the switch from siege tanks into those Widow Mines. Armory is coming up, so 2-2 should be able to get started here pretty quickly. Plus, obviously, it's going to benefit those Widow Mines as well. That was much better. Clem is going to have to step it up a notch right here. So this is good, actually. Getting rid of some of those creep tumors here, slowing down that creep spread, absolutely massive. That was like a dozen creep tumors going down, picks up all of those Marines inside of the medevacs before the Banelings can connect. Decide to drop once again. This time around it's not happening. Hellions over here thinking about doing the same thing that those Marines were doing, trying to go after the creep tumors. There's the Drilling Claws upgrade coming up for Clem, and obviously those Widow Mines, they're very, very good at trading cost efficiently against the Zerg. All right. One thing to note, I guess, is that Clem is very good at that multitasking, right? So maybe one of the, like I'm just thinking here, maybe one of the reasons why he hasn't felt too comfortable playing against, actually hold that thought. His playstyle, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at, is not very good cross-server. With more ping, his playstyle, which is super micro-focused, is just much harder to pull off if you compare it to something like, for example, Maru, or the way that, like, say, for example, Hero Marine likes to play. Widow Mine. Oh, very good control there. Nice unburrow as well by Clem, though. Unburrowing before the Widow Mine can fire, meaning that it's likely going to be able to get a better shot off in just a little bit, rather than just two of those Zerglings. Push right here down south as well. Zerg is going to have to commit at fighting this, though, I guess, at some point. Okay, is he going to go straight through the center? He will. That one Widow Mine getting a good couple hits off there as well with the siege tanks. I mean, even though these units were all destined to die, that was about best case scenario right there for Clem, making the best of a bad situation. Widow Mine drop right now, coming up over at the third base of the Zerg player. Good control once again, beautiful splits right here. Those were the first 3 workers going down in this particular game. And I mean, against like 4 Widow Mines, losing only 3 of those drones, that is a pretty good trade if you were to ask me. Lurker Den coming up. You can see that Clem really has picked up the pace here. Trying to go for some multitasking here, pushing back that creep spread and trying to get that tempo lead that he's very, very fond of. In the meantime, he's also secured, well, that 9 o'clock position. Additional command center is coming up. He's looking, as far as the eco goes, at the very least, pretty nice and healthy. And even though the early game wasn't going so hot, you can see his micro here has been absolutely phenomenal, trading way better than the Zerg. Already, though, the Lurker Den is coming up. And Lurker Dens, obviously, are super good when it comes to pushing back this Terran bio army. The problem is, right, with this playstyle that Clem likes to go for, once again, good on burrows, he relies on pushing back that creep spread and then hitting his opponent in the face 17 times over, right? The lurkers, though, once they are out, say there's like 5 lurkers burrowed over here, I mean, it doesn't really matter how little creep spread there is, you can't push into that with just Marines, Marauders, and then a bunch of Medivacs. I mean, you can if you're Bjorn and if you're very ambitious, but most of the time, you're better off not making that decision. So you kind of have to slow it down. I love this. Clem, before even... Has he seen anything? No, he hasn't seen the Lurker Den, but he knows what the next step in his Zerg's plan is going to be. He's already adding on the Ghost Academy. Widow Mine over here. Oh, beautiful split right there by Serral. This is a new thing that Serral has been doing recently, where rather than, like, splitting the units while all of his Zerglings are moving, he holds positions and then runs the targeted unit forward, which I feel like is a recipe for disaster if I were to give it a try, but I haven't really seen Serral make any mistakes there. 6 lurkers coming up. Grooved Spines, the lurker ranged upgrade, also researching, and it's kind of putting a timer right here on this harassment from Clem, although Clem apparently not done just yet. Zergling sleeping on the job in the bottom right-hand corner. Looks like a planetary fortress is coming up right there for the Terran in one of those hard-to-acquire bases. More lurkers coming up. Terran units right here do get picked up just barely, or picked up rather, just barely in the nick of time. And this is where those lurkers are so nice. Those lurkers are going to be super good when it comes to pushing back this army. Overseer will get picked off as well, so no more detection available, and that means that these Widow Mines can maybe shoot another time. Okay, Planetary is finishing up eventually. Poor little Zergling. It was meant to deny that base. And, well, it took its secret to the grave, I suppose, but it's a little bit sad for him. At the very least, it did tell the information right there to the... nicely done. To the Zerg player that there is a newly acquired base over there. 2 units, or 2 Medivacs rather, full of units. Making their way towards what seems to be the main base. Love the positioning right there on that Spore Crawler for Serral, getting a couple of free shots in. This could get awkward. Serral doesn't see it. Clem does see it. Clem probably a little bit too busy right over here, though, trying to micro all of the different areas at once. At this point, though, he starts gunning down the hatch. No council on that one. So that's 300 minerals down the drain, plus the cost of the drone. Ghosts have arrived as well. Good transfuses right there by Serral, keeping it alive. Burrows it here. We do need the Adaptive Talons upgrade, so it's finishing up. Oh, there it is, actually. Well, it's already done at this point in the game. That allows those lurkers to burrow way quicker. Also unburrow way quicker, which makes acquiring good traits quite a bit more straightforward. Clem adding on a ton of additional command centers here. He's ready to replace any of those SCVs that he has right now with mules. Obviously, mules are super nice. At this point, obviously, he's maxed out too, and once you start replacing those SCVs with mules, since the mules don't cost any supply, you can make a much larger army. Pretty deep onto the creep here. Can he actually burrow the lurkers? He will. Good snipes here, though, once again, by the Zerg player. Or by the Terran player, rather. A couple of lurkers over here, preventing this army from dealing a whole lot of damage. But at the very least, it's forcing a couple of those Zerg units to stay at home as well. He's thinking about target firing in the base down in the top right-hand corner. Medivacs, once again, they'll pick up. Get on out of there. Zerg ready to go in for some more harassment here. Always annoying. Another thing that we see a lot over the last couple of months is Zerg players being absolutely obnoxious there with a lurker. I mean, technically speaking, a planetary fortress is pretty good, but you need detection, plus they're ranged. And the lurkers can obviously shoot quite far away. So he's going to have to send something else over here. A Liberator and a Scan. Together with a Ghost. Pretty good. Alright. Adrenal Glands coming up. 4 ghosts right now being pumped out at once, by the way, which is a very good amount. At the same time, Zerg thinking about going for a push over here at 12 o'clock position. A couple of the units going down the ramp as well. He's not finishing off the planetary, though, at this base. And it looks like that other command center also actually is going to live to tell the tale. So that's actually really good. Or lift to tell the tale. Haha. That's actually really good right here for Clem. Serral wanted to get 2 CCs, getting a little bit greedy, and he ended up getting none of them. Lurker number 2 has shown up in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. Very nice multitasking right here once again by the two of them. Lurker sieges, Liberator sieges, and I think eventually it is going to get picked off. Yep, it will be killed, but that's also because these guys are obviously microing multiple areas of this map. Parasitic Bomb right here on all of the medevacs. Beautiful split right there by Clem. It can deal so much damage there, but Clem just picks up the weakened units and gets on out of there. Beautiful split right here as well, by the way, in between those two command centers, making it very hard for those Zerg units to advance. A couple of banelings right there on top of the Ghost would have been a disaster. Eventually, the CC does end up going down, but there's a new command center ready to morph into a planetary fortress as well. Fake medevac drop right over here. Maybe he's already killed, I don't know, the Widow Mine there. I'm not 100% sure, but at the very least, he's making the Zerg player panic for a little bit. Scanner right there will confirm a random lurker on the side of the Terran. And once again, since the creep spread hasn't been replaced here, Clem is looking to continue onwards with some more fighting in the top right-hand corner. Lurker, bottom left. Gonna burrow and unburrow. Force another scan maybe, just try and maximize the damage. Hatch in the top right-hand corner was killed during all of that. You see the burrow, unburrow, repositioning on the lurker, repositioning on the liberator, repositioning on the lurker, repositioning on the liberator. And look at the minimap. These guys are still playing. This is some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen in StarCraft 2. These guys are so fast. They're still playing the game. They're still playing the game while doing this little mini game over here. Speaking of playing the game, Widow Mine's over there on the natural ramp thinking about getting some work done. Zerg was thinking about going for some more aggression. That was wild. So this little like lurker versus liberator mini game, that is like 100 plus APM just right there. These guys are playing at like 4, 5, 6, 700 actions per minute and they still have APM to spare to play like a little lurker mini game. Like lurker versus liberator style in the bottom left. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Look at the lurker army right now, by the way. We're at 17 lurkers here, and 17 lurkers make very quick work of practically everything out there. I mean, the liberator here was good against one lurker. What about like 17 of them, though? Yeah, that command center is not gonna live for very long. Nice move right here by Serral, but obviously this is not for free. Needs to be careful as well that he doesn't get those lurkers cut off from the rest of the creep. Would love to see another Terran push towards the top right-hand corner because Serral finally acquired it once again. Oh my god, the lurker snipes. Or sorry, the ghost snipes right there on the lurkers. Okay, needs to be very careful. Clem ends up losing quite a few of them right there. Those ghost assassins. They're very stealthy, but not very stealthy when they die. I think they're the loudest Terran unit, actually, in the entire arsenal for the Terran player. Some of them say, never say die. And others go, ah! Ah! It's a little bit weird. Not 100% sure how that works. Alright. Can Clem get a couple of snipes off? Wouldn't mind it. He actually kind of just wandered upon that army. Okay, loses a bunch of the ghosts once again. And that's a very expensive set of units to lose. Liberator here in the bottom left now has got 11 kills to its name. Income-wise, Clem has got a good amount of income still because of this 12 o'clock position. But he's been mining this one for a while as well, so he needs to be careful. Serral just acquired the base in the top right-hand corner, so if they can both mine that out, I think it should still go like slightly in favor of the Zerg, just because there's more money remaining in the top right. That being said, Clem right now thinking about, I guess, going for a horizontal push here. I don't mind it. Since there's no lurkers over here, it's going to be difficult for the Zerg player to engage. At the same time, he's moving, actually, towards the other side of the map. Needs detection here to get rid of those Widow Mines. Will eventually get it. At the same time, Zerg also trying to defend the base in the top right. It looks like for now, since he's got 2 packs of lurkers, he's going to be able to pull that off. Marines and Marauders, just right-click the base. Just right-click the base. I think that's fine. Hello, can we kill it? Oh my god, he actually keeps it alive for now. Anyways, looks like the base at the 9 o'clock position also under some harassment. Good split right there by Clem. Splitting off the one weakened and targeted medivac. One lurker right here, split off from the rest of the pack as the SCVs are mass repairing. Clem is going to be able to keep that CC alive for at least a little while longer. Can't believe that hatchery actually lives with 80 health. Snipes over there will get rid of that one pesky lurker as well that was trying to harass the mineral line. And once again, we're 20 minutes into the game. Who's winning? Well, I would say at this point it's definitely Serral that's ahead, but it has been extremely close up to this point. Okay, we need to see some good snipes right here. Ghosts do land a couple of good snipes, but now they have to run for quite some time as well. Planetary Fortress is going to be a nice anchor to fall back to. Can these ghosts cloak? Hello, can we maybe get a cloak or so? Oh, it doesn't matter. He's actually just going to be able to gun down the Zerglings and Banelings right there before they can properly connect with the Ghost Army. 11 still remain. Command Center there did end up going down, but I think he can float on over one of his new orbital commands towards that newly acquired base once again. Bottom left-hand corner right now is going to go in the favor of the Zerg at this point. So this was the expo that the Terran was mining for a little while, where we saw that Lurker versus Liberator minigame. Good snipes once again here. Careful though. Don't want to overextend right here with the Ghost. And that was an expensive set of units to lose. Still keeps most of the Ghosts alive. Clem needs to be probably stepping it back just a little bit so he doesn't lose those Ghosts for free. They're all very low in hit points. Okay, abductions right now even on the Ghost as well to try and pick those off. Nicely done here once again by the finisher. He's got 14 more Hydras coming up. 11 Lurkers are also now morphing in. He's got a pretty large bank still. Okay, apparently they were a little bit too far forward. Those Lurkers do take some time. Clem actually once again magically cutting his opponent off. Zerglings now going for the counterattack towards the 12 o'clock position. Hatchery in the top right corner gets killed for like the 17th time. Widowmine over here even burrows right now, and it's thinking, yep, about firing at those drones. So finally some worker damage is being done here, but might be a little bit later than what the Terran player was ultimately hoping for. Right now we're at 22 Lurkers. Now Ghosts are good against Lurkers, but it's 9 Ghosts versus 22, and that's really not ideal. A couple of Widowmines here sprinkled on the map as well. Clem rallying those towards random locations, hoping to get some good shots in. Bottom left-hand corner required by the Zerg. Top right-hand corner also, once again, being reacquired. Good snipes right there, though, by Clem, trying to maximize the amount of damage that he can do. And like 5 or so of those Lurkers do end up going down before they really do anything. Good split once again. Parasitic Bomb not slowing down this Terran player very much at all in this game so far. The problem is, yeah, how are you going to break this? Apparently you don't. GG is cold. Alrighty. So, the second game I want to share with you is on 2000 atmospheres. This is another long game of Terran versus Zerg, and it's once again a very good one. I was actually a little bit skeptical when they first introduced the new maps. So, if you watched that video that I posted as well about, I think 2 weeks or so ago at this point, I talked about it in that video that I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to think of the new map pool, or what I was supposed to think of it, because there's 2 very large maps in Pride of Altaras and Glittering Ashes. Those 2 maps are so humongous, and then there's, you know, that really small one. I wasn't entirely sure what to expect, and I don't like all of them, but so far the new map pool has been an absolute breath of fresh air. 2000 Atmos is around for another season. So, remember in the Blizzard blog post that it said that 2000 Atmospheres was gonna be updated? Apparently, and I still don't know if this is true, maybe someone can let me know down below. Apparently what they've changed about this map, if they changed anything at all, because I'm not sure that they did, but apparently the map is now less purple. I don't know. I feel like that could be true. I feel like these plants maybe in the past were more purple. It felt like there maybe was more of like a purple glow or a purple hue on everything on this map, but I'm not even sure if that's the case. Maybe. As far as the map layout, it seems absolutely identical. I thought maybe they were gonna like get rid of some of the rocks or add a couple of new rocks or change like the radius on the watchtower or literally anything. It just said in the blog post updated, and we don't really know what that meant. It could be less purple, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyhow, hatch gas pool right here from the Zerg. Serral has been going for a lot of pool first as well recently. Clem has been going for a lot of very aggressive plays. So his early game in the previous one really didn't work out. But I've seen him go for a lot of like Hellbat pushes, a lot of like medevac drops inside of the main base with 4 Hellions. Just a lot of like relatively like quote unquote cheap tricks to catch the opponent off guard. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, I guess, to execute those kind of styles to Serral because, or against Serral because he's not known to take any damage in the early game. Reaper has arrived. This is the first minigame that these two play. The Reaper versus Zergling minigame. Reaper is supposed to get maybe one Zergling. But it gets nothing. Next order of business is trying to get a creep tumor. Serral knows it. Clem knows it. Second queen shows up as well. Just trying to delay this as long as possible. At 37 energy, eventually the queen does pop down a creep tumor and the second queen is going to go back into the main base. Jump up into the main as well. I mean, you can see these guys are so in sync. Just like the first few units that are out. Obviously, they've played these types of games 1,000 times before. But there's some very high-level decision-making going on here. That has to be different for every single one of the maps, because the maps play out a little bit differently with the direction where you want to, like... Say, for example, you take the third over here, you want to have that tumor closer to that third base so you can connect them faster, but... Anyways. In the meantime, while we have that shenanigans going on, we do have a starport building on the right side of the map. So it is going to be a quick 3cc opener right here from Clem, but indeed, he is proxying the starport. Now, what's the advantage of proxying the starport? If you go for a medevac right now, it's gonna arrive about 10 seconds faster. Hello. We do need 100 gas. Okay, there we go. It is gonna arrive like, well, maybe right now, 7 seconds faster than a normal medevac that would be built in the main base would be. It's not a huge difference, but obviously Zerg players will try and time their Zerglings as late as possible. So, yeah, you may be able to get like another 2 shots or so off with the Hellions. So right here, though, it's got Overlords in position. There's no reason for these Hellions to go all the way towards the right side of the map. Serral already repositioning the queens over here as well, anticipating the units to go in that direction. Instead, they decide to pop into the plane. Serral could be getting a little bit suspicious already, and would you look at that. This is, like, his early game is so clean. Like, I'm a huge fanboy of both of these guys, but especially Serral's early game. It is just, I don't know. As someone who's been playing StarCraft for a long time, it is just on another level. Like... He sent the queens over there, and then he's like, you know what? The second option that he could be going for is a medevac drop. He hasn't spotted anything out of the ordinary, because, I mean... It's pretty good. Anyways, Zergling's there, waiting for the Hellion drop. Maybe he can still get some work done. Oh, wow. Did you see that? The medevac spewing fire there. If you're quick enough on the pull-up, or the pickup right there, you can, Ooh, he's thinking about getting a creep tumor. You can make it look as if the medevac is the one spewing fire. The dragon vac. Double Evo once again coming up before lair. Third CC though, already flying on over towards location. So this is one of those nice advantages, right, of this early game here that Clem is playing. Despite the fact that he's not really dealt a whole lot of damage here to his opponent at all. As a matter of fact, I think this early game is once again heavily in favor of the Zerg. He doesn't really need to deal too much damage as long as he doesn't lose these units for free. Because of the fact that he's got that third CC. But obviously, ideally, you do want to kill like 10 workers. Because that would definitely make the mid-game quite a bit easier. The problem is, when you don't deal any damage in the earlier stages of the game, that creep spread is going to get out of control. And any mid-game follow-up pushes are going to be so much harder to execute because of it. 1-1 coming up as well for the Terran player. He did go for some very quick triple Rex here as a follow-up, which I kind of like. I think that's probably due to the fact that his the starport had to fly all the way back home. No medevacs really other than the first one. I think that's the first one. Yeah, it's the only thing that makes sense. Alright. Now what we saw in the first game today, though, was some absolutely top-tier control by Clem in the mid-game. I would say that the early game in the first map went in favor of the Zerg. Mid-game went in favor of the Terran, and the late game went in favor of the Zerg once again. And ultimately, it allowed Zerg to obtain the victory, right? I would say 1 point on the board at this point as well here for Serral after this early game, because he hasn't really taken a whole lot of damage. But it looks like Clem has got his number in the mid-game. Like, look at this. Are you seeing this? Like, these guys are doing things that people just don't have APM for to do most of the time. Like, the thing is, this is not necessarily a hard thing to execute. It's the same for that Liberator versus Lurker Dance that we saw earlier. It's just that it's extremely difficult to do while everything else is going on. Like, these guys aren't really, you know, not really dropping the ball as far as micro and macro and everything else goes. Right? On its own, it's not like it's a super complex thing to do. It's just hard to do when there's a million other things happening. Once again, beautiful pickup there. Still all 8 Marines alive over here. Hellions now have been morphed into Hellbats as well. Widow Mines are being added into the mix. Queens are taking a couple of shots to the face, but they're going to be able to back off. Banelings, though. Even though the centrifugal hooks upgrade is a little bit late, I mean, it's 3 seconds away right now. This push could actually work out quite well. Terran has set up a bit of what seems to be a SimCity here that's supposed to prevent this sort of thing from happening, at least when it comes from the left side. But absolutely massive detonations right there from Serral, punishing Clem quite hard. So far, looking good right here in the mid-game. 2 workers were killed here by Clem. But now the Widow Mines are out. And Widow Mines... Oh. Widow Mines are very, very nice. Definitely one of the strongest units that the Terran player has access to. They pretty much always trade efficiently, although you do have to be a little bit careful. Every once in a while we accidentally see the Zerg player, or, well, sometimes on purpose, but we see it all the time where the Widow Mines will accidentally kill the Terran army instead of the Zerg, because they can deal friendly damage. Hydra then coming up once again for Serral. +2, +2. You can see the +2 for the Zerg is definitely a little bit faster than that of the Terran player, but it looks like he was actually a little bit late right there on +2 melee. Alright. Once again, Zerglings heading on over in that direction. Clem, though, did secure the 4th base. I feel like that's one of the big differences between what we see Clem doing right here and what we see other Terran players doing. Other Terrans seem to be stuck on 3 base for a long time. Despite the fact that we've seen 24 SCVs go down in this game so far. Clem still definitely has a healthy amount of workers to continue macroing in this game for a while longer. He's also been pushing back the creep here really, really well. Left side of the map really not looking that hot. Right side of the map also not really looking that hot, making it difficult to go for follow-up pushes. Widow Mines over here, trying to get some good hits in. Were we finally able to connect? Okay, that was a killer hit. Very nicely done here. Serral, though, is going to force to pick up on that bio army once again. Zerglings burrowed over here as well, trying to be as annoying as possible. Triple medevac drop inside of the main base. Without Banelings, you're not going to be able to kill this very effectively, so Clem really just trying to secure a couple of kills here. Whatever he can, and then he's probably going to pick up and get him out of there once again. Let me back off for a second, because apparently I missed something while this was happening. Okay. So while we see that shenanigans happening in the main base, a cheeky little medevac drop. Alright. Gets 13 worker kills. So probably busy looking at those Marines as well, making sure they're not maximizing the damage. Love this as well. Drops one of the Marines right there on that little pad. The Reaper jump up location. 16 drones end up going down. Liberator here ready to pile on the pressure as well. So that's 19 workers right here in total. And all of a sudden, this game looks a whole lot more even. Supply-wise right now, the Terran player is even ahead, picks up once again and gets it out of there just barely in time. Zerglings ready to go in for a counterattack or maybe to morph into Banelings once again. But this time around, Clem once again is on point. He's not going to fall for the same trick 3 times. +2/+2 is done for the both of them. Additional CCs are being added on here as well for Clem. Little bit risky there, all things considered, but apparently he's feeling comfortable enough to do so. Widow Mine drop over at the 3rd base of the Zerg. 8 additional workers end up going down. Clem piling under pressure. Hive is a little bit later this game as well, so Serral's not going to be able to have that luxury of lurkers to try and push back that tempo lead. Good denying right here of the creep spread as well. Scans once again and refuels a couple of those creep tumors once more. Additional barracks coming up here as well for the Terran player. Hitting a bit of a supply block, it seems, but that's okay. He's just trading aggressively on the other side of the map. That's one way of preventing a supply block, I guess. There's only one medevac over here as well, so these Marines are not really going to be able to go home. But at the very least, he's trying to target fire down as many Banelings as he can. 8 Marines are picked off. Oh my god, do you see that? He's targeting every single one of those Banes. And eventually, those leftover Marines are gonna be killed. But 8 of them made it out. They're chilling in the plane. At the very least, there was a lot of damage dealt there by Clem, regardless. I mean, even though he lost Marines there, he was still trading minerals for gas, right? Which is pretty much always a trade you're happy to make. Banelings. Serral looking for something juicier than that. Yeah, you had him selected there for a little bit, but he wants more. He's got 3 burrowed Banelings here. Ugh. Oh, God. Alright. So far, not detonating them. Zerglings going around once again, trying to get some work done over there. +3/+3 coming up here for the Terran, which I love. Significantly in front of the Zerg. Zerg only just now going for a hive. A couple of banelings are morphing in. Widowmine over here detonated for now. Couple of banelings once again. That same little nuke right here between all of those side blockers. Looks like 6 drones ended up going down right here to the Widowmine drop. Make it 13. Good control here once again. Just barely doesn't get the burrow over there. Top right-hand corner. Or I guess the top section of the map rather. Not the top right-hand corner. Top left, I guess. Will be denied, but Serral did take a lot of damage during all of this. Now 42 workers have been killed. In the meantime, there's a Zergling burrowed over here. It's going to deny this expo for a little bit longer, but Clem is thinking about taking a 5th. He could even consider going for the base right here on the left side of the map as well. Serral hasn't secured this base just yet. I mean, he probably wants to, but the creep spread is just not looking so hot. Matter of fact, drop once again, ready to go. Trying to optimize the amount of damage they can deal. Those speedy burrows are very nice. Picks up one of them and gets them out of there. The medevacs in the top, or those marines in the top left-hand corner, they've been chilling in that plane for a while. Waiting until they're back up to full health. Hive finally done. Viper comes up. Lurker then comes up as well. Banelings, by the way, still burrowed over here. Scan over there does reveal one burrowed Zergling. Scan over here also reveals a burrowed Zergling. So Clem does secure 2 new bases, which is nice. Very important, by the way, to secure bases. And this is a beautiful scan here as well. Clem, anticipating that his opponent was setting up a trap, realizes what's going on. And even though that scam is... Oh, that scan router is a bit of a scam, right? It's almost what it feels like. But Clem, not born yesterday, he knows exactly what his opponent's tricks are. Needs to be careful, though. So many banelings chasing down so many of those marines. Looks like the marines just barely get the benefit right here of that Sim City of the Terran player, making it hard for the Zerg to continue rolling in that direction. And now all of a sudden, though, look at this. Clem is taking 2 new bases. Normally you only get 1. But even though he was up with his back against the wall earlier, now he's found himself with a 5th and a 6th base, both with a planetary fortress. So it's going to be quite difficult to push into this. Clem now even adding on triple CC in the bottom right-hand corner. Bit risky. It's giving his opponent now a bunch of time, obviously, to get those lurker upgrades going once again. Serral going for the base at the 3 o'clock. Not quite. Not quite right there for Serral at the very least. Marines over here. Those are the OG Marines. Wouldn't mind seeing a scan over here just to try and, like, kill some more of those creep tumors, because there's so many of them, but I guess he knows better than me. Zergling heading on over towards the bottom right. Burrows over in that location. Eventually, those Marines are gonna join their brothers from earlier, but those are definitely guys that had to tell his story there for, well, the duration of this game, it seemed. Couple of banelings there do connect with the ghosts. But all things considered, I don't think that was the worst trait that the Terran could go for. Already, though, adding on ghosts here before there's really that many lurkers out. There's only 1 lurker at this point, actually, so... Pretty good. Widowmine! Oh my god, huge Widowmine hit. 24 of them end up going down. Marauders right here in the front as well, soaking up a bunch of those baneling shots. Eventually, this Terran army is gonna die, but that was still a very nice trait right there for the Terran player. Making some absolutely phenomenal cost-efficient moves. Splits. Beautiful splits. Not as beautiful maybe as the first game, but still pretty freaking good. That medevac from earlier, by the way, flying all the way back home. Yeah, he's trying to see if he can land it, but a pesky little Zergling is blocking that base. Serral has acquired 2 new bases, though, and that's... Well, actually, no, this base got denied, apparently. He's secured the base in the top left-hand corner. Scan over there reveals the Zergling, so a new base can be morphed into a planetary fortress once again. Alright, so Serral is improving the lurker count by quite a bit. He's got 7 right now, with 11 more coming up, so that makes 18. 18 lurkers in total. Not bad whatsoever. His opponent doesn't have that many ghosts just yet. Wonderful little bit of micro right there once again by the Zerg player, although this one did connect with 21 Zergling kills. Zergling's moving on over towards the bottom right-hand corner as well, and that also deals a ton of damage. No planetary here yet, though. Clem, I don't know if it's on purpose, but... Oh my god. Gets quite a bit of work done there regardless. Banelings once again burrowed. Now this Zerg army is actually thinking about moving forward. As long as there's detection available, this should be relatively easy to pull off. Wouldn't mind seeing him target fire that down at all. Clem thinking about securing this final expo on his side of the map as well, but that's a very difficult one to acquire because it's so close to this, like, triangle formation of the Zerg, right? Like, this almost feels like a Zerg base. One of the more difficult bases to acquire for certain on this map. Bottom right-hand corner, morphing into a planetary now. Good dance right here once again between these two. I just want to emphasize how easy it is for either of these two players to just lose this game. Like, we're almost getting spoiled a little bit with how good these guys are, that it makes other games of StarCraft look boring. Like, I've casted many games over the last couple days that just didn't seem that exciting anymore. Like, you almost get desensitized to, like, less exciting StarCraft 2 just because these guys are on another level. Planetary Fortress does go down. Neither player really has that much money anymore. I mean, they're maxed out and they have a bit of a bank, but they're not mining a whole lot. Okay, planetary over here. Will get killed, but I think there's an orbital commander ready to take its place pretty much right away. Honestly, against these lurker armies, I almost feel like it's better to just make an orbital instead, just because you can lift it. You can't lift a planetary, but you can lift an orbital. Zerg now decides to take the base in the bottom right-hand corner. Clem moving forward. Morphed the planetary fortress in, by the way. There's a high-yield gas over there too, so... Nice snipes, getting rid of a couple of these lurkers, but good transfuses right there by Serral as well, keeping at least that one of them alive. Massive Widow Mine hit once again, gets rid of tons of those Zerglings. I mean, at this point, we've seen so many of those links going down. Okay, at least this base will stay alive. Grabbing a couple of those Overseers on the retreat as well. 574 Zerglings in this game so far. Not bad. Ooh, need to be so careful. Ugh. It's so easy to accidentally lose everything here. Lurker just trying to optimize its damage. It's now got 10 kills, but apparently that's not enough. Good split once again there by Serral. But at the same time, really, really wonderful movement here by Clem. If Clem can start taking control of this section of the map, I think he can actually cut off the base over there. That being said, that's a lot of lurkers though. We're now at 11 lurkers. There's one infestor somewhere out on this map as well. So fungal together with like a lurker follow-up could be absolutely massive. Snipes over there, get rid of the final lurkers at the bottom section of the map. Two orbital commands are gonna join together. And their next door neighbors right there with a Zerg hatch. Okay. Ooh, those snipes are absolutely killer. The Widow Mines and the snipes have been so good. Together with like that micro that Serral has been playing against here. I feel like he's having a very tough time. Wonderful plays here by Clem. Oh god, okay, well I say that and obviously that's right before all of those spines connect with the bio army. Zerglings though, getting rid of some of those SCVs over here. 6 of them end up dying and now Serral is mining from the bottom right-hand corner. I almost feel like he needs to give up that top left-hand corner and just go for the bottom right. But I guess once you do that, there's got to be a planetary over here and a planetary over here before too long. So you kind of need to keep fighting over here as well, right? Maybe Clem should give up the bottom right-hand corner, but then I guess there's going to be 3 Zerg bases over here. Alright, so nicely done right there. Clem once again cut off another one of those Zerg expansions. Few banelings still burrowed close to the Terran side of the map. So far, Clem not walking his entire army into a couple of those burrowed banelings. Clem actually cycling pretty much his entire army towards the right side of the map. I mean, he's got to have more, right? This army doesn't seem that big. There's a lot of Widow Mines burrowed everywhere. Careful now. There's so many Widow Mines everywhere. It's a minefield. Quite literally. I feel like this is exactly what Clem wants. He wants his opponent to come on over towards this direction of the map. Parasitic bomb right there. Forced to split off the medevac, but he gets that easy peasy. At the same time, okay, that's where the other half of the Terran army is. He's moving on in over towards the 12 o'clock position. A little bit of mining still going on right here for the Zerg player, but not all too much. Infestor over here as well, ready to land a killer fungal, but that's a bunch of drones going down and a new expo as well. Or, well, a new expo. A new expo that's killed, I guess. A newly killed expo. There you go. Alright. Zergling over here, preventing this orbital command from being lifted. Drones burrowed here as well, by the way, in the top left-hand corner, right next to a hatchery. Or, sorry, right next to a command center. Pretty sure Serral wishes that was a hatchery, but not quite gonna happen. Scan over there does reveal at least a couple of those units. Did he see the units now burrowing as well in the top left-hand corner? I mean, he's obviously looking at loads of different things at once. Could have retargeted that one. Could have retargeted, but okay, well, he did see them. 16 drones end up going down in the top left-hand corner, bringing the grand total up to 69 workers killed. Nice. Alright, Clem not done yet, though. He's taking control of the top left-hand corner, but apparently, is that enough for him? He's like, no, I want to fight the top right as well. Goes do cloak right over here as well, making it hard for the Zerg player to continue fighting this area of the map, especially with all of those overseers backing up. Serral ends up losing a big chunk of his units there, and while he does snipe a couple of the ghosts there, the snipes on the ghosts are even better. Widow Mines once again setting themselves up right here for success. Oh my god, look at Clem, he's walking his lurkers. Many people walk dogs, but this guy's walking lurkers through a minefield. GG is cold. Serral's economy has been harassed to death, and eventually, it is going to be the Frenchman who obtains the victory. Now, quick spoiler alert, by the way, in case you're curious, StayAtHome Story Cup was won by Clem, winning over Serral in the grand finals. Very well played by both of them.